Let's speak about the power of Erev Pesach, and then perhaps give insight into the significance of the mimer of Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli and its connection specifically to Erev Pesach. In the letter that is printed in the beginning of many Haggadahs from Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli, it concludes that anyone who recites that letter, he is vouchsafed muftach lo shehu nitzal kol oisa hashana mikol michshal umisa meshuna v'shem oynes. He is vouchsafed that he'll be saved that year from any stumbling, any unusual, untimely death. V'al yimshul b'oivav, his enemies will not rule over him. V'chol soinav yiplu tachtav, all of his enemies will fall beneath him. Uv'chol asher yifna yatzliach v'yaskel, and wherever he turns, he will be successful. What is the meaning of this havtacha, and why is it connected to Erev Pesach? Erev Pesach is a very powerful time. In the Perush on the letter of Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli, the Shemesh U'Magen, he brings that Erev Pesach is every year the time where the forces of Tumah are completely squelched. As the pasuk says, "V'lo yitain hamashchis lavai al bateicha lengoif." It is a day that Hashem does not allow the destroyer to come smite your homes. All the kayach hatumah is at its lowest point on Erev Pesach. That is why the Shemesh U'Magen explains. Mordechai tells Esther, "Ki im hacharesh tacharishi ba'es hazos." If you don't go in now to Achashverosh and try to overcome the kayach hatumah, then you may not have any other opportunity. It is Erev Pesach or bust. This is the best opportunity to overcome the kaychais hatumah. And therefore the letter of Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli, which in general this letter is using the oisios of the Makkos. Now the oisios of the Makkos, the Rebbe Shem used these oisios to overcome the Mitzrim, to demolish the Kayach HaTumah, to redeem us from oppression, to elevate us and allow us to triumph over our enemy, and to grant us material success. As we know, Klal Yisrael overcame the Mitzrayim, so we overcame our enemy, we overcame a life of oppression, and we gained material success. And therefore, the havtacha of this mimer is that all the benefits that Klal Yisrael experienced when we left Mitzrayim, namely, our lives were saved, we overcame our enemy, and we gained material success. These benefits are available by accessing the very oisios with which the Rebbe Shem brought the Makkos and redeemed us from Mitzrayim. So in terms of the correct and opportune time to recite this mimer, Rav Moshe Sternbach and the Mayadim Azmanim brings that some say it refers to the morning of Erev Pesach. By the way, Rav Ben Zion Musafi brings in a sefer Pesach B'Tzion, Parak Yud Ois Aleph, that after burning the chametz, his father, the Mekubal Rav Salman Musafi, would gather the whole family together, including the children, and learn the mimer of Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli. He said some say it refers to Erev Pesach afternoon. However, Rav Sternbach says that he heard it refers to the night of Pesach, because we find even the Rambam, who says you should give treats to the children on Erev Pesach, that of course is referring to the Seder night. So too, the recitation of the mimer of Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli is reserved for Leil Seder. And we bring in our humble Haggadah that there are wondrous accounts of Yeshuas, of those who read this mimer. In fact, there's somebody who reprinted the mimer after World War II. He testified in 1944 in Hungary that anyone who said the mimer was spared. Rabbi Yochanan Sofer, the Rav of Erloi, he said that on Erev Pesach 1944, his grandfather Rav Shimon Sofer, because of the panic and confusion, was not able to adhere to his yearly practice of reciting the mimer, and he was not able to survive. Rabbi Yochanan Sofer himself also cannot say the mimer, but he said it at his first available opportunity, which was Erev Rosh Hashanah. Now, the main benefit, of course, is to have an understanding of what this mimer is about, namely to access the oisios of the Nisei Mitzrayim. So we hope that the Rebbe Shem on this occasion, where the Rebbe Shem squelch the Kayach HaTumah and redeem the Jewish people. May we be zoicha that just like B'Tesvav B'Nisan Nigalu, we should be zoicha B'Tesvav B'Nisan Asidin Ligal. Wishing everyone a Chag Kosher V'Sameach. A Chag Kosher V'Sameach. A good moed everyone. L'kovid the Yom Tif of Pesach Tavshin Pei Beis. We're going to attempt a new limud, a revolutionary limud, something we never ventured in before, and that is we're going to try to explain the mimer Sod Etzba Elokim from Hamakubal Ho Eliki Rav Shimshon Ostropoli, who was one of the great all-time Mekubalim, who was killed al Kiddush Hashem on the third day of Av in the year Tav Ches, the year 1648, during the pogroms of 1648, 1649, the Chmielnicki pogroms. And Rav Shimshon Ostropoli explained a wondrous letter or mimer of the Arizal, and we're going to speak about, well, where is this mimer from? We have all the Kisvei Ha'ari. We know Reb Chaim Vital brought to us all the Kisvei Ha'ari, and this is something that comes from the writings of the Ari, and it's not part of the regular corpus of the material of Reb Chaim Vital. And Rav Shimshon Ostropoli gives a wondrous promise that anyone who studies this letter, even once a year, especially Erev Pesach, he is vouchsafed, he'll be honored, and he will be wealthy, and he will be healthy. So we're going to try to explain this letter. This letter is primarily based on the letters that compose the Makkos and the mnemonic of Rabbi Yehuda bar Eloi. And it was later, Rav Shimshon Ostropoli's commentary on the Arizal's revelation was later explained by a Talmid Chacham and Tzaddik, Rav Chaviv Chaim David Stahon, the Av BD of Teveria, who wrote a commentary on Mamer Sod Etzba Elokim about 120 years ago. This Gadol, Rav Chaviv Chaim David Stahon, wrote a number of svarim. He wrote a sefer Takvay Shal Nes on none other than Rav Meir Bal Hanes, which has the Haskama of Rav Avram Falaji, and he wrote a sefer Korsaya de Eliyahu. Now, just to get a little glimpse of the greatness of Rav Shimshon Ostropoli, the Baal Shem Tov said that if one were to learn the Zohar with the commentary of Rav Shimshon Ostropoli, Machane Don, the limud of Machane Don on the Zohar would bring Mashiach immediately. And the Chayz of Lublin said something astounding. The Chayz of Lublin writes in Parshas Vayetze that Mashiach ben Yosef will not be killed. Even though we have a tradition that first Mashiach ben Yosef is killed in battle and then comes Mashiach ben David. No, says the Chayz of Lublin. Because Rav Shimshon Ostropoli, he writes this in the sefer Divrei Emes Parshas Vayetze, Divrei Maskal Vayizkar, that Rav Shimshon Ostropoli was none other than Mashiach ben Yosef, and he was killed already, so he doesn't have to be killed again. So this is a little bit of the greatness of Rav Shimshon Ostropoli, and Rav Shimshon Ostropoli himself writes about the potential for Mashiach to come in the year Tav Ches, and that's alluded to in the big Tav and the big Ches in Megillas Esther. But if it would not come, it would be a year of great tragedy for the Jewish people, and the Gezerah of Haman would come out in that particular year, says Rav Shimshon Ostropoli, quoted in Nitzutze Shimshon. Be it as it may, this mimer Sod Etzba Elokim is about the letters that comprise the Makkos, and how these letters are Shemesh of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how the Rebbeinu Shalom brought Makkah to the Egyptians and Refuah to Klal Yisrael through these letters. As we know that on the pasuk, Ve'es oisoisai asher samti bam, we have a drasha, Kari bei oisi oisai, Kari bei oisi oisai, meaning that the oisoisai, the signs, the wonders, could also be read the letters, and there's a significance about the letters in They comprise various shemos of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. In fact, Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli brought in Nitzutzei Shimshon in Parshas Kisisa on the pasuk Vayomer Kum Asei Lanu. He brings that it is well known that Adam Harishon was poigem in the 4 Oisios Havaya because he was over on Avodah Zarah, Gilui Arayos, and Shvichas Damim, and Lashon Hara. And the 3 Avos and Moshe Rabbeinu were all Masake in one particular letter. So Avram Avinu was Masake in Avodah Zarah by breaking the tzlamim of his father. He was Masake in the first Hey of the Shem Havaya. That's the secret of Avram became Avraham with the Hey. He was Masake in the Hey of Havaya. Yitzchak was Masake in murder, Shvichas Damim, by going to the Akedah. So Yitzchak, a lashon of Tzechoik, he was Masake in the Yud, the extra Yud of the Shem Havaya. Yaakov was Masake in Gilei Arayos for the first 84 years of his life, Loira Keri, and he was Masake in the Vav. That's the secret why in 5 places Yaakov Avinu spelled Male with the Vav. He was Masake in the Vav of the Shem Havaya. And therefore, until Moshe Rabbeinu came, Hashem says to Moshe, Ushmi Havaya lo nidati lohem. I did not become known through the Shem Havaya to the Avos because they were only Masake in the Yud of Yitzchak was Masake in the Yud, the Hey Abraham, the Vav of Yaakov, but the final Hey Moshe Rabbeinu was not Masake yet, and therefore Hashem's name Havaya was not yet known to the Avos because it was still Nifgam from Adam Harishon. And Moshe Rabbeinu was his job was to be Masake in the final Hey through the Chamishei Chumshei Torah. This is the secret of the pasuk. Ve'amru li ma shemoi ma oimar aleim, which is Soifei Tevois Shem Havaya. Li ma shemoi ma is Soifei Tevois Shem Havaya, and this is the secret. V'zelecha ha'ois. The Hey will be the final letter that you need to be Masake. So we see the tachlis of Yetzias Mitzrayim was to be Masake in the Shem Havaya, which came about through the various Makkos. And as we know, the Shem Havaya that corresponds to Chodesh Nisan is Yismuchu Hashemayim Misogel Ha'oretz, the Shem Havaya forward, Barashei Tevois. And therefore, by reciting the various Makkos and the various letter combinations, the sefer Shemesh U'Magen brings a person. It's mevatel or makatrigan, it's mevatel or mastinim, it's mevatel gzeiros rois. And how beautiful this fits in with something that we've spoken out in the past, that the Haggadah Shel Pesach has exactly 1,820 words corresponding to the number of times the Shem Havaya appears in the Chumash. So this was all revealed through Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli explaining the holy words of the Arizal. Now, why was Rabbi Shimshon of Ostropoli zoicha to this revelation? He himself said that he had a dream to be able to reveal these secrets. Well, the sefer Shemesh U'Magen says the reason why Rabbi Shimshon of Ostropoli was zoicha to reveal these secrets, it lies in the Gemara in Sot and Daf Yud. Rabbi Yochanan says Shimshon was so named by the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara says, well, maybe you can't erase his name if he's named after HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the Gemara ultimately says what Rabbi Yochanan meant was just like a sun shields and protects the whole world, Shimshon likewise protected the whole world. And the Sfarim ask, what's the Gemara's Havamina that you can't erase the name Shimshon? Is it better than the Kinuyim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Then Rachum Mechanun, that they are Nimchakim? Shimshon, which is not a name of Hashem, that is Einam Nimchakim? What's the Gemara's Havamina? And the Sefer Shemesh U'Magen suggests that the name Shimshon is a very mystical, unusual, and powerful name. It is the ultimate sign of the Shem Havaya. It is numerically valued 696. Shimshon is 696. 26 times 26 is 676. We spoke about that in the past on the pasuk Rabbois Ra'os Tzadik. Ra'os is 676. So Yud K times Yud K is 676. But if you take those two Yud Ks b'miluam and you spell them out, the Yud you spell out Yud Vav and then a Daled. The Hey you spell out Hey and then a Yud. The Vav you spell out a Vav followed by a Yud followed by a Vav and then a Hey Hey times Yud, Hey and Yud. So the Shem Havai b'Milui is 10 letters. So one times the other is 20 letters. So 26 times 26 is 676, plus the 20 letters of the two Yud Kei Vav Keis b'Milui, 696. So Shimshon is the ultimate reflection of Hashem's name b'Milui, and the sefer Shemesh U'Magen suggests that Shimshon, Reb Shamshon Ostropoli, who had this name, was zeicha to these great revelations of the Shem of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, in the Psicha of, in the Hakdama of the Sefer, he brings, who are we to delve into such matters? Is this the type of information that we should not access? And he brings the Haskama of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz for the Sefer Asbaklaria HaMe'ira, which includes Chidushim of Reb Shamshon Ostropoli on the Zohar. And Rabbi Yonasan says, even though he does not give Haskamas to Sifrei Kabbalah, but the Yediyos of Reb Shamshon Ostropoli, which are necessary to understand basic principles in Torah, need to be accessed by everybody, and therefore he will deviate from his regular practice and give a haskama to the sefer, because this information is so critical and so fundamental. And this applies to this work as well, as we're going to learn. It is a minhag in Klal Yisrael to say this specifically on Erev Pesach, and we'll discuss that in the next segment. And I would like to share with you further. This sefer, Sod Etzba Elokim, is based on something that Rizal wrote in a work called Pla'os Rabbis, and yet we do not have this work, this mysterious work of the Arizal, Pla'os Rabbis. Now, a grandson, a descendant of Reb Shamshon of Ostropoli named Moshe Chaim Steinberg refers to a sefer Ruach Elokim of a grandson, of a descendant of Reb Shamshon. In other words, a Talmid Chacham today, Reb Moshe Chaim Steinberg, refers to the sefer Ruach Elokim of a descendant of Reb Shamshon of Ostropoli, who he quotes various svarim of Reb Shamshon of Ostropoli, and they explain many plios stumais from the sefer Pla'os Rabbis. So we see that the sefer Pla'os Rabbis was something that was accessible at a certain time in history, and it is suggested by the author of by the compiler of this mimer Sod Etzba Elokim, that there are various works of Kabbalah that were never published, and they were retained by various families. For example, there is Kabbalistic works of Reb Chaim Vital that were never published and are only found in the hands of the descendants of Reb Chaim Vital. There are works of the R Shimshon that it is prohibited for anyone to open, and till this very day lay in the hands of the descendants of R Shimshon. In fact, the descendant of the Chassam Sofer, Reb Shlomo Sofer, in the Sefer Rinas Doidim of Hagoyin Reb Eliyahu Baal Shem, he says that he has from his Zayda Chassam Sofer Kabbalistic manuscripts based on the Kabbalah of the Ramban, Ibn Ezra, the Rekach, and Rabbi Azriel that were never published, and they remain in the family of the Chassam Sofer. Now, an interesting issue is that descendants of Reb Shamshon Ostropoli refer to something that Reb Shamshon writes in the Machaneh Dan, which, by the way, after it was first printed, it was suddenly lost because the tradition is the world could not handle it. But in the Sefer Ruach Elokim, he says, and the Ruach Elokim was written by a descendant of Reb Shamshon Ostropoli, that Reb Shamshon wrote in the Sefer Machaneh Dan that he's a descendant of Manoach and Shimshon Hagibar, which would have to be reconciled with the tradition we mentioned earlier that Reb Shamshon Ostropoli was Mashiach ben Yosef, and that's why the Chazal of Lublin says Mashiach ben Yosef would no longer need to be killed before Mashiach ben David comes. So this is all by way of introduction to the mimer Sod Etzba Elokim. In the second segment, we'll explain why there's such a powerful havtacha for one to be healthy, honored, and wealthy through saying this, and we will discuss the proper time for the recitation of this mimer. And Be'ezus Hashem, in the upcoming segments, we will go through it, and actually through the Parasha of the Shemesh U'Magen, it is actually very clear and understandable. and we shall be zoiche to the brachos that come through all limud Torah, oirach yomim b'mina, u'samayla oisher v'chaved. Hey, Chakoshav Sameach, we're continuing our wondrous journey through the sefer, mimer, Sod Etzba Elokim. I want to thank my dear friend, Reb Chaim Zimin, for getting me this edition of the Sod Etzba Elokim with the Shemesh U'Magen. This is really a wondrous edition. It's available in Lashon HaKodesh and in English. I want to thank my friend Reb Eli Khan also for encouraging this limud. And we're going to speak about two things in this session. Number one, why is this limud so powerful? Why is it that the Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli said that one who studies this any time during the year, specifically Erev Pesach, is vouchsafed incredible brachos, life, honor, wealth? What's so powerful about this limud? And furthermore, when is the correct time to learn this limud of mimer Sod Etzba Elokim? In the last session, we learned about the gadlus of Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli, and we learned about his history and why he was zoiche to bring this limud to Klal Yisrael, and where this segment of the Arizal is found. Now, the sefer, the Perush Shemesh U'Magen, brings an idea that anytime a person mentions Yetzias Mitzrayim, through their speech, they're tapping into a great power to be mavatel all gzeros, rois, and kashos. Similar to what Chazal say, that anyone who says Shiras Hayam Besimcha, Hashem is moichel all their avonos, and all the balei segulas, they make many segulas out of the psukim of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And David HaMelech in Tehillim, when he wants to be saved from his tzaras, he invokes the miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And as we mentioned yesterday, all of the Makkos that Kadosh Baruch Hu brought on the Mitzrayim were performed through various shemos and various oisios. And therefore, by speaking about Yetzias Mitzrayim, that discussion has the capacity, so to speak, to reawaken those miracles of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And therefore, by studying this mimer, which is an explanation of the names Hashem used to bring about the miracles of Mitzrayim, that accesses that reoccurring koyach. As we know, the Jewish calendar is a living calendar, and the miracles Hashem brought at one time in history, so to speak, can be reawakened at that time of the year in a different year. Now, when is the proper time to speak about to learn this mimer Sod Etzba Elokim? Well, Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli says that anyone who learns this mimer, he says, Acharei zois hoidia oisi rozodana. This is sort of the end of the mimer of Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli, but we're going to begin with that. He says, Kol hama'ayin b'soid nifla v'noira, as anyone who investigates this great secret al mechoinoi properly, afilu pamach even once a year, uveyoyser be'erev Pesach, specifically Erev Pesach. Now we're going to see what they are vouchsafed, but why is Erev Pesach the most mesugal time? Because that's the time of the bittul of the mekatrigim, like the pasuk says, "V'lo yitein hamashchis lavoi el batechem lingoif," because through the dam that they shechted the tleh on Erev Pesach, and likewise reoccurring every year, that is the time of Bittul HaMekatrigim. And that's, we find, the greatest Mekatrig of all time also was knocked off at this time of the year, namely Haman. That is why Mordechai told Esther, you got to fast now. You got to nip it in the bud and take care of this now, because now's the opportune time. Kim hacharesh tacharishi. Why? If you're silent at this time, the Jews will have a salvation in a different way, meaning through the Zman of Yetzias Mitzrayim. The time of the 15th day of Nisan is opportune to bring salvation for Klal Yisrael, and therefore you must take advantage of this Eis Ratzain. And therefore the sefer Shemesh U'Magen says that the most opportune time to take advantage of this limud is Erev Pesach. And he adds, anyone who is moisif to learn it on Shabbos, and now we know, the Divrei Shniyos, it says about in the Divrei Shniyos, Zecher Yitzias Mitzrayim. So the Shemesh U'Magen gives a guarantee he will be successful that whole week, and he will be Mekayim Zecher Yitzias Mitzrayim. Now, what exactly is the Havtacha for somebody who learns this limud? Says Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli, the Havtacha is Shehu Mutzal Kal Hashana Mikal Michshal. You'll be saved the whole year from any stumbling, Umisa Meshuneh, and any unusual death. V'Shem Adam B'li Ala Yimshal Bay. No wrongful person will rule over you. Ad Shekal Oivav Noif, from Tachta, all your enemies will fall under you. V'Hu Abba Meisema Yidrach, you will stomp on them. B'Chal Asher Yifnei Yatzliach, wherever you turn will be successful. B'Chal Asakav Yarviach, all your business will prosper. Ad Bias HaMashiach. Well, it says the Shemesh U'Magen, these are really three promises. Number one, you will be saved the whole year from Misa Meshuna. That's life, Chayim. No evil person will rule over you, but instead you will rule over your enemy. That's kavod. And then finally, wherever you turn, you'll be successful. Your business will prosper. That's wealth. Namely, life, honor, and wealth. And that's exactly what happened in the times of Mitzrayim. And that's what Hashem promised by the Bris Ben Abasarim. Wealth. And Hashem will judge your oppressor. That's kavod of Klal Yisrael. And the fourth generation will return to Eretz Yisrael. That's Chayim. So all these three promises that Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli promises for those who learn his letter occurred to the Jewish people in the times of Yetzias Mitzrayim, and therefore by learning the depth and the profundity and the mystical secrets of Yetzias Mitzrayim, one accesses those very same brachos. Now, in terms of the right time to say this mimer, so we said earlier the best time is Erev Pesach, and it's brought down that we have Gedolim today who write about the wonders that they personally saw by those who studied this mimer. The printing of the Sod mimer Etzba Elokim, 1945, he brings that he saw with his own eyes that in Tavshin Daled, 1944, in Hungary, where when the Nazis invaded, anyone who said this mimer was saved from the Holocaust. And then he brings from Rav Moshe Sternbuch and the Haggadah Moyadim Zmanim that Rav Sternbuch would read this mimer with his children who were old enough to understand. And because some explain that when Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli says to learn at Erev Pesach, it means Erev Pesach in the morning or in the afternoon. In fact, Rav Ben Zion Mutzafi brings that his father, Rav Solomon Mutzafi, right after the Siyam and Sreifas Chametz and Kol Chamiyah, he would gather his family and they would learn this mimer. Some, however, says Rav Moshe Sternbuch, he personally heard that Erev Pesach does not refer to the day of Erev Pesach, but rather Leil Seder. Why would it mean Leil Seder? Because the Gemara Pesachim says on Kuf Tes that you should give out nuts and egoizim Erev Pesach, and the Rambam says that means Seder night. So too when it comes to this mimer, even though it says you should say Erev Pesach, the correct time to say it is by the Seder when you're discussing Yetzias Mitzrayim. Says Rav Sternbuch you should do it both times. Do it Erev Pesach and Seder night. Rav Sternbuch says that we heard wondrous stories that people read this letter, and the Razoicha to Nefla'is Mamish. Now, we're going to try to learn this mimer over the next couple of sessions before the conclusion of Yom Tif, Bli Neder. Some have a custom to learn this mimer on the third day of Av, which is the yahrzeit of Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli. Some review it on Rosh Hashanah. V'chol hamarbe harei meshubach. Okay, so Be'ez Hashem, next time we will begin the actual mamar. Wishing everyone a good Mayid and a wonderful day. Okay, Bruchim Habayim. Welcome everyone. This is the moment everyone's been waiting for, when we start the actual letter, mimer Sod Etzba Elokim of Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli, explaining the mysterious words of the Arizal. So, here we begin. Mimer Sod Etzba Elokim, a yichud nifla v'noira me Rabbeinu Ari, u'beirurai me hamar haggadah Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli. Shalom l'Rabbanu v'ga'inei Aretz. Says Reb Shimshon, peace to the rabbis and the go'inim of the land, go'idrei geder v'amdim ha'paretz, those who make fences and stand at the breach, yatzileim Hashem b'kilyan v'cheretz, may God save them from destruction and annihilation. Kulam kadoshim asher ba'aretz, they are all holy. Kol chad lefum chorfei makshem atarz, each one according to their own sharpness, asking and answering. V'alaroiv shloimchem hisangu me'at v'yad olam. And regarding the abundance of peace that I am told that you have, you should enjoy from now until forever. Amen. Salah. B'tachlas hakitzer, in the epitome of conciseness. Regarding that which you wrote to me, Rav Shimshon is addressing the one who asked him a question. That which I wrote, the simanim of the Makkos, which of course we know were the simanim of Rabbi Huda. This Rabbi Huda is Rabbi Huda bar Erloi. And you asked on me, how is redemption revealed in these simanim? Now I will reveal the matter in secret to your honorable Torah, like the pasuk says in Zechariah, Parak Tes pasuk Yadaled, and like lightning, his arrows should emanate before the merciful one who should atone for our sin. I will write to the eminent Torah scholar, to you, that which Arizal writes b'kuntra shaloi in his compendium Hanikra Pla'is Rabbis, b'shar Tezvav Hanikra Shar Yitzias Mitzrayim Perek Gimel Daf Mem Beis v'zel Shainoi Hine Kavar Hishmaticha. I have already made known to you. Sheparoi Nilke be'eser Makkos b'Mitzrayim, that Paroi was whipped, was struck with the 10 plagues in Egypt. Al yidei gimel alafim reish pei malachi chaval. This is the first principle that the Arizal reveals. That is, Paroi was struck through 3,280 angels of destruction. Okay, so remember that number. 3,280. 3,280. Hamamunim, that are appointed. Hamasavivim begimel rakiyim shel tumah, that encircle the 3 firmaments of tumah. Now this is also a important principle, that there are 3 firmaments of tumah. Echad nikra shin reish ayin. One is called shin reish ayin. Now one should not read the names, the Shemois, the Shemesh U'Magen, one of the commentary that we said we're going to be using from one of the great Ga'inim of Teveria, Rav Chaviv Chaim Dov Stahain. He says all these Shemois, we just glance at them, but we don't pronounce them. But we'll see that the letters Shin Reish Ayin are very significant, because I'll let the cat out of the bag right away. You unscramble them. Shin Reish Ayin could be unscrambled Esar. Ve'echad, another Rakia Nikra Taf Mem Vav Chaf. Again, another shame. We don't pronounce it, but that one could also be unscrambled. And we'll see what that is. Ve'echad Nikra Beis Yud Shin Hei Aleph. And on top of them is the angel that's called Daled Lamed Pei Kuf Tes Final Mem. Or other gersois of how to spell that particular shame. V'yaleim, and upon them, v'yalkulam, and upon all of them, Asara Nikra Taf Kuf Aleph. Now Taf Kuf Aleph is 501. Barashem, all the way on top. And now the Arizal says this mystical, enigmatic comment, Choser Asara min Hashlishi, take away 10 from number 3, V'chaser Shisha min Aravi, take away 6 from number 4, V'chaser Shisha min Hatshi, take away 6 from number 9, Kakosov, as it's written. Huh? What does that mean? What does it mean, take away 10 from 3, 6 from 4, 6 from 9, and what does it mean, as it's written? V'nei mashem atzinu, says the Arizal, that which we find, Shaloku HaMitzrayim Eser Makkos b'Mitzrayim, that the Egyptians were struck with 10 Makkos in Egypt, V'alayam Chamisha Makkos, and at the sea 50, that's Mitzad Hashem Shin Pevav. That's the shame Shin Pevav Shabai Achos David ben Yishai. That is associated with David. V'Hashem Amar, the shame said V'hika, and it smote. Umitzad Hashem, so the first Shem was Shin Pei Vav, and that's connected to David ben Yishai. Umitzad Hashem, and from the Shem Tov Kuf Lamed, Loko HaMitzrayim b'Mitzrayim, Arba'a Makkos, they were struck in 40 Makkos, Umasayim Alayam, and 200 at the sea, V'Hashem Amar V'Hika, and the Shem said to smite. Umitzad Hashem, Aleph Shin Tzadi Hey, Loku HaMitzrayim b'Mitzrayim Chamisha Makkos, they were struck with 50 Makkos, V'Alayam Masayim V'Chamisha Makkos, and at the sea 250, V'Hashem Amar V'Hika, Uvamesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu Makeh B'Y Merape HaGalas. And with the very shame that God strikes, He heals the exile. So there are 3 Shemos. Shin Pei Vav, that brought 10 in Mitzrayim and 50 Alayam. And then there's Taf Kuf Lamed, 40 in Mitzrayim and 200 Alayam. And then 50 in Mitzrayim and 250 Alayam, that was Aleph Shin Tzadi Hey. Uma Pisha, Uma Chatoi. What was the sin? What was the iniquity? Umam Hama. What was the treachery? Malu Avesenu, that our forefathers committed. Lios B'Kor Barzel, to be in this iron furnace. Hazeh Ad Shegolim B'Shemes Elu, until God redeemed us with these Shemos. And the Shemos are Dalet Ayin Beis is 1. What's that? Tzadi Dalet Aleph is number 2, and Chaf Shin Ches Veis is the 3rd. Ad kan l'shaynu l'yonenu. That's all you need to know from what the Arizal says. And this is obviously the enigmatic, mysterious comments of the Ari. What does this mean? V'nei ahuvi moiri v'Rebbe kadosh Yisrael. Rabbi Shimshon of Ostropoli is addressing his questioner. He says, "My master, dvarim elu ploisim. These matters are wonders. Ustum chasumim. They're sealed. Sagur. Ve'in parishosam. They're locked up and no one explains them." Many Gedolim have asked me to explain the Ari. Says Rav Shimshon, I never did it. But because I love you so much, because I love you so much, I'll reveal to you what was revealed to me in a dream. So this is information that was revealed to Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli in a chaloim. Now I will reveal the matter in hint, before your honorable Torah, may the merciful one atone if I am stepping out of bounds. So let us begin in this segment to read Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli's interpretation of the words of the Arizal. And let us begin. This subject, Arizal, that which Ari writes, I already told you, that Paro was struck in Egypt 10 Makkos. Here's the kavanah. Those masters of practical Kabbalah teach that there are 3,280 destructive angels that are appointed to smite the wicked, and to purify them from sin. And they give a siman. How do you know there are 3,280? The pasuk in Yeshaya, Perek Nun Ches, pasuk Daled, lahakois be'egraf rasha. Egroif is Rashi Tevois. Gimel alafim reish pei malachi chavala. Egroif. Aleph Gimel, Gimel Alafim, Reish Pei 280, 3,280 angels of destruction. V'nilku al yedei Gimel Alafim Reish Pei Malachi Chavala, and the Mitzrayim were struck through these 3,280 angels of destruction. Shema Anishim, that they punish Umetarim es Rasham, and they purify the wicked. V'oimer Ani, and I say, HaKoisev, the writer, Shezehu Soid Nifla, this is a wondrous secret, Kasher Nachshav B'minyan of a Misbar, when we make the following calculations. So we're about to make some incredible calculations. They are not too complicated. We still don't know what the Arizal means. That you need to take away 10 from number 3, 6 from number 4, and 6 from number 9. Dam tzfardeya kinim aroiv dever shchin barad arbe choshech makas b'cheres. Elu eser makos, these 10 plagues. Kasher kasavtim ois ba'ois. When you write them all out, letter by letter, you take the numerical value of all the 10 Makkos, oilim, 3,280 mamish. Oisios dedain kechushma dedain. The letters of the Makkos are the exact calculation of this gematria. Haroimes on the 3,280 malachi chavala. Machanos hanal. Those camps, hama'anishim asarasham, v'zeh hapshat nifla b'pel. This is the wondrous, astounding pshat. Ayin loiras, no eye has ever seen this before. The gematria of all 10 Makkos is 3,280. V'nei hacheshbain mechuvan kasher nachshav kinim chasar yud. But this gematria only works out if you take the word kinim and you spell it chaf nun mem, meaning take out from number 3, kinim, 10, the yud, and take out from number 4, the vav, aroiv, take out the vav, and take out from, meaning that when Arizal says take out from 4, 6, it means take out from the 4th makkah, aroiv, the letter vav. And when the Arizal says take out from number 9, 6, he means take out from the 9th makkah, vav. Va'oz mechuvan acheshvan mamish. Then the calculation comes out exact. Loi pachos, loi yosef, not less and not more. Mina gimel alafim, reish pei malachi chavala. From the 3,280 angels, hamanishim asorshan, that punish the wicked. So you say, why should you spell kinim, the 3rd makkah, without a yud? Why should you spell the 4th makkah without a vav? Why should you spell the 9th makkah without a vav? Says Reb Shimshon, V'hainu kamosh shekasav b'Torah, because that's how the Makkos are written in the Torah. The Parshas Va'era, kinim is spelled chaser without a vav. Arav is spelled chaser without, kinim is spelled chaser without a yud. Arav is spelled chaser without a vav. Choshev is written chaser without a vav. V'loi kamosh mesader bal ha'agada. Not the way the Bal Haggadah writes kinim with a vav, with a yud, and Arav with a vav, and Choshech with a vav. V'hainu mashakos v'arizal kakosov. That's what the Ari means, as it's written. Perush kakosov b'Torah, as it's written in the Bible, in the Torah. V'loi kashakosov b'sidurim. Not like it's written in the Siddur, Kisham nechta malay, because in the Siddur, Kinim is spelled malay with a yud, and Arav and Choshech is spelled malay with a vav. V'hainu mashakos v'arizal, that's what the Arizal means. Chasar asara min ashlishi, take away 10 from 3, meaning take away a yud from the 3rd makkah. Mimakah shlisha shikinim chasar yud. That's what the Arima means, take away 6 from number 4. Gam chasar shisha hainu vav, take away the vav min arvi. That is hainu mimakas arav shi makar ravi chasar vav. Gam chasar shisha min atshi, take away a vav from choshech shi makas choshech, gam ken chasar vav. Now, V'gam Rabbi Yehuda, and even Rabbi Yehuda, Hagam de Rabbi Yehuda like Kasav Oisir Shal Simanum Kulam Rak Roshi Tevs Tzachadash B'Achav. Even though Rabbi Yehuda did not write the letters of all the Makkos, he only wrote Roshi Tevos, the Tzachadash B'Achav, like the Abarbanel writes, like I wrote earlier. V'zeu Sod Elu Eser Makkos Shehevi HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Mitzrayim Mechuvan mamish gimel alafim reish pei malachi chavala. Even though Rabbi Yehuda did not write out Dam Tzvardei Akinim Arav, he only wrote B'Rashi Tevos. When he said these are the 10 Makkos, Akash Baruch Hu Bron Mitzrayim, that means it's mechuvan. The gematria of all the Makkos, 3,280, equals the 3,280 malachi chavala. Soid elu gimel alafim reish pei malachi chavala. Hamamunim be'elu gimel rakiyim, that are pointed on those 3 firmaments, shehiku es parai. Now, why are there 3 firmaments of Tumah? The Shemesh U'Magen explains, well, maybe because there are 3 machanois of Tumah, that Tameh is Mishtaleach, the Machane Kuhuna, Machane Aliyah, Machane Yisrael. And each kind of machana, a different kind of tumah is thrown out, a zav, a tamei meis, a mitzayra. and we darshan that a mitzvah is sent out of all three machanois. So there are three madregos of tuma, and corresponding to that are three rakia of koichos hatuma. And the Shemesh U'Magen takes it even further. A tamei meis is sent out of machana shchina. That corresponds to the rakia that's called taf mem vav chaf, which is a remez to misa, meis chav vav. Meis, someone who contracts tumas meis, is sent out of the machana shchina. A zav is sent out of two machanos. That's keneged the rakia beis yud shin hey aleph, which is really the letters ziva when you change the shin for a zayin, because that's a type of exchange that could be made. And furthermore, the Metzoira is sent out of the machana shin resh ayin, which is could also be read shar, which is the shar ha'ir, which is all three machanos. In any event, there are three machanos of tuma. You have 3,280 malachi chavala, which is exactly the gematria of all the Makkos: dam, svardeya, kinim, aroiv, dever, shchin. Okay, that will conclude this section of the letter of Rav Shimshon of Ostropoli. Bez Hashem will have another one or two more shiurim on the subject. Wishing everyone agat mayid. Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're now beginning part 4 of the holy letter of Shimshon of Ostropoli. May our learning be l'ilei nishmas Brian Alea Bas Avigdor Yaakov Halevi Tehei Nishmasa Tzura B'tzar HaChaim. Part 4. We're now going to explain what the Arizal means. Rav Shimshon explains what the Arizal means, that the Malachi Chavala, which were associated with the Ten Makkos, again, the gematria of Dan Tzradei Kinmar of Dever, is 3,280, which are the number of the Malachi Chavala in the three rakia. And each rakia is connected to a different shem. Umasha kosav shehim, that which the Ari writes, that these 3,280 malachim, soivivim, they encircle the gimel rakim shel tuma, the three firmaments of tuma. Echad nikra shin reish ayin, ve'echad nikra taf mem vav chaf, ve'echad nikra beis yud shin hey aleph. This also has a great secret, a wondrous secret, v'tikun hamagen. And the Baal HaHaggadah rectified this by encoding in the Haggadah, b'masha kosav, after the 10 Makkos, Elu Eser Makkos Shehevi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. These are the 10 Makkos Shehevi. Eser are the letters Shin Reish Ayin, which is the first rakia, where the Malachi Chavala are. So Shin Reish Ayin is a code for Eser. Eser oiseh Shin Reish Ayin. Taf Mem Vav Chaf is a code for Makkos. Makkos oiseh Taf Mem Vav Chaf. Beis Yud Shin Hey Aleph is a code for Shehevi. Oiseh Beis Yud Shin Hey Aleph. Ramaz Le'elu Gimel Rakim, those words, Eser Makkos Shehevi, is a remez to these three firmaments, Shel Tuma. Shabahem, then in them, Yesh Minyan Gimel Alafim Reish Pei Malachi Chaval, that have 3,280 destructive angels, Mamish, Kaminyan, Eser Makkos Shehevi, which are the 10 Makkos that were brought. Dam Sfardeya, the gematria of Dam Sfardeya. So Eser Makkos Shehevi, those three words are the three rakia, and the Dam Sfardeya are the 3,280 Malachi Chavala Vehim Shehikos HaMitzrayim. That is what smote the Egyptians. Ki Malachi Chavala Halalim Mamunim Lahakas HaSorsham. These angels of destruction were appointed to smite the wicked, Lataharam Amnosam, to purify them. Ka'amor V'hu Pelagah. That is a great wonder. Now we have a Hosafa from Rab Shimshon, and apparently, and one of the Shemos, which Rab Shimshon said is the sar over all three rakia, umashakasav v'aleim hasar hanikra dalid lamed pei kuf tes mem, and according to another gersa without the mem at the end, and according to another gersa with a lamed at the end, and we'll explain all three. Kavanasa, the kavanah is sheshem zeh, that shem sharshoy yoytse mimilas hamitzrim. So it's Eser is the first rakia, Makkos is the second, Shehevi is the third. Elu eser Makkos shehevi HaKadosh Baruch Hu al ha-mitzrim. Ha-mitzrim, if you take the oisios koidmos, the letters before ha-mitzrim, what do you get if you take the oisios ha-koidmos to the letters of ha-mitzrim? Dalid before a hey, Lamed before the mem, Pei before the tzadi, Kuf before the resh, Tes before the Lamed, Tes before the Yud. Now the Tes before the Yud of ha-mitzrim. And what about the final mem of the mitzrim? Hu mem hariboy ve'ino min hasharesh. That's a mem indicating many, but it's not part of the root word of ha-mitzri. And therefore, according to some, the gersod is dalad lamed pei kuf tes mem for the final mem of ha-mitzrim, which is not really part of the root, but maybe more accurately without any mem at all at the end, because the final mem of ha-mitzrim is not part of the root. And some take the letter before the final mem, which is elamed. V'remez lozeh ha-magid, this is what the Baal HaGadol is merames, ba'amroi elu eser Makkos shehevi HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Eser is the first rakia, Makkos is the second, shehevi is the third, and where did Hashem bring it? Al ha-mitzrim. Al means before, on top of the word mitzrim. Kalaymar ha'oisiyos shehein koidmos ha'oisiyos ha-mitzrim. The letters that precede the letters of the mitzrim. V'havein, understand, kach kibalti, this is my tradition. V'Hashem hatov yichaper, may the good God, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the epitome of goodness, forgive if I've revealed too much. Now, the Reb Shamshon continues, Umasha kosav Arizal, that which the Ari writes, Zechron levrach chayim above, Aleim v'al kulam hasar hanikra taf kof aleph, that which the Ari says, that above and beyond all of them is the angel, which is taf kof aleph. That indicates that if you add up the letters, Ditzach adash biachav, you get taf kof aleph 501. Kavanasei kirashe tevois shel eser Makkos tetzach adash biachav is gematria taf kuf aleph. That's the minion of the sar that's appointed over. See, the Arizal began that you have the three rakia, and on top of them, the sar that's called Dal Lamed Pei Kuf Tes Mem, and on them the sar which is Tav Kuf Aleph. The Tzach Adash B'Achav is Gematria Tav Kuf Aleph, and it's also Gematria Asher, the word Asher. Now, what's significant about Asher? V'zehu soy. This is the meaning of the pasuk, the secret of the pasuk. Parak Dal pasuk Yitzayin. V'es hamate hazeh shetikach b'yadecha Asher ta'asa b'yasa oisais. You're going to take the stick Asher. So the stick has on it Asher. Asher is gematria the tzach hadash b'achav. Chakukim the tzach hadash b'achav, on the staff it was engraved the tzach hadash b'achav shemen yonam, that the count was tav kuf aleph keminyan Asher mamish. This is the secret of the pasuk in Shemois, Paragir pasuk beis, leman tesaper ba'oznei bincha uven bincha eis Asher hisalalti b'Mitzrayim. It's all about the Asher, the 501. Ukiyotze be'harba alafim psukim, and many thousands of similar psukim shamoyer malzeh that instruct and reflect on this. L'soid Asher keminyan rashi teva shel eser Makkos k'moshe kasavnu. U'masher kasav, and that which it's written va'aleihem hasar hanikra dalid lamed pei kuf tes mem yesh lanu b'zeh. Now, even though we had before a ha'ara that explained the Shem Dalad Lamed Pei Kuf Tes Mem, which is the Shem before the Mitzrim, but here Reb Shamshon says there are many, many secrets about this, and Uchvoid Elekim Haser Davar, it is an honor to God to hide the matter. Just as an interest, a point of reference, the gematria of Dalad Lamed Pei Kuf Tes Mem is Dalad Lamed 34, 114, 214, 223, either 223, and with the mem 263, with the lamed 253. Now, I want to go back to the Asher. Asher is gematria 501. In the commentary Shemesh U'Magen, he brings a very amazing thing regarding the word Asher. Namely, Asher is the ultimate of Midas Hadin. Aleph stands for Elokim. This comes from the biur, from the sefer Limudim Benisim. Aleph stands for Elikim. Reish is also Elikim. How? If you spell out Elikim Aleph, then Aleph Lamed, so it's 1, and then 31. Then Aleph Lamed Hey, 36. Then Aleph Lamed Hey Yud plus 46, plus Aleph Lamed Hey Yud Mem, 86, you get 200. So Reish is a reference to Elikim, spelling it out in this fashion. Aleph, then Aleph Lamed, then Aleph Lamed Hey, then Aleph Lamed Hey Yud, and so on. And then Shin is also Elikim. How's that? If you spell out Elikim, b'milulai, Aleph spelled Aleph Lamed Pei, and Hey, a Lamed spelled Lamed Mem Daled, Hey, Hey Yud, Yud, Yud Vav Daled, Mem, 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 equals 300. So Asher is like a triple way of writing Elikim. Aleph stands for Elikim, Shin is Elikim b'milui, Reish is Elikim if you spell it out, Aleph, then Aleph Lamed, Hey, and so forth. So that is explains the Shemois of Tav Kof Aleph and Daled Lamed Pei Kof Tes, and then Mem, as we had before. And this is added incredible insight into the holy words of the Arizal. And Bez Hashem, in the last segment, we'll learn what the connection between the Makkos are and David ben Yishai. Wishing everyone a good Mayim. Okay, welcome back, everyone. This is the time everyone's been waiting for, the grand finale of the mimer Sod Etzba Elokim of Shimshon of Ostropoli. And now we're going to explain these mysterious Shemois Shin Pei Vav, which is associated with the 10 and the 50, and then the mysterious Shem of Tav Kof Lamed, and then the mysterious Shem of Aleph Shin Sadi Hey. That which the Ari writes in general, Hashem Shin Pei Vav, Shebay Oiches David ben Yishai. V'Hashem Amar V'Hika b'Mitzrayim, and the Shem spoke and smote Egypt, Eser Makkos, V'Aliyam Chamishim, V'Hashem Tav Kof Lamed Amar V'Hika b'Mitzrayim Mem, V'Aliyam Reish Makkos, V'Hashem Aleph Shin Sadi Hey, which is 396 or 395. Amar V'Hika b'Mitzrayim Nun, V'Aliyam Reish Nun. Kavanasai, what the Ari is referring to is L'Soid Nifla, a wondrous secret. V'Noira, the remez lepluktosh Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Akiva Niskar b'Haggadah. It's a remez in Achloikes between Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Rabbi Eliezer, and Rabbi Akiva mentioned in the Haggadah. Rabbi Yossi Aglili says, Minayin ato oimer shalaka mitzvah mitzvah esrag zayam chamish. How do you know 10 in Mitzrayim and 50 alayam? Rabbi Eliezer oimer Minayin v'chulu b'Mitzrayim arba'im v'alayam asayim, 40 in Mitzrayim and 200 alayam. Rabbi Kiva oimer minayin, 50 in Mitzrayim, 250 alayam, b'Mitzrayim 5 alayam asayim v'chamishim v'zeu shegaz Arizal. That's what Arizal means. V'Hashem shin pei vav amar v'hika b'Mitzrayim yud v'nun alayam. That's a remez to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, because the gematria of Rabbi Yossi Aglili is 386 shin pei vav ki chushman adein chushman adein. The cheshman of this one is like the cheshman of this one. Rabbi Yossi Aglili b'gematria Shin Pei Vav. Rabbi Yossi Aglili is gematria 386. V'hainu Rabbi Yossi Aglili oimer. That is, Rabbi Yossi Aglili says Perosh Hashem Shin Pei Vav Amar V'hika. The Shem 386 said and smote. What's the connection between David ben Yishai? Okay, very nice. Rabbi Yossi Aglili is gematria 386 Shin Pei Vav. What does that have to do with David ben Yishai? Mashakaz of David ben Yishai oiches b'zeh Hashem l'daiti asoid gadol. The secret is greed. Ki David ben Yishai gam ken gematria Shin Pei Vav. David ben Yishai is also 386. V'zehu soid nifla. This is the wondrous secret. Shakaz of the soid raza. That's written in the Sod Raza, Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Nitzutz Shel David ben Yishai. That Rabbi Yossi Aglili is a spark of David ben Yishai. Because Rabbi Yossi Aglili is Gematria, David ben Yishai, Chvar Sha'aluni Hatemazu. I was already asked about this wonder, Ma Shaychas Rabbi Yossi Aglili and David ben Yishai, Ba'ois Hashem Dafka. What's the connection between Rabbi Yossi Aglili and David ben Yishai and the Shin Pei Vav? Hagam Sheish Hanosot Malachim. Even though there are other wondrous secrets, Amna Ma Kavana Zu. The Kavana is Rabbi Yossi Aglili Gematria Shin Pei Vav, which is Gematria Shugematria David ben Yishai Mamish Mechuvan Tezeh Hashem Hika Oisam. With that Shem, he smote them. Umashakasav Arizal, that which Ari writes, Umitzad Hashem, Tav Kuf Lamed, and from the Shem Tav Kuf Lamed, Laku HaMitzrayim b'Mitzrayim, Mem Makkos, that with the Shem Tav Kuf Lamed, the Mitzrayim were smote 40 Makkos, and on the Yam Reish, that's 240, and it was through the Shem Tav Kuf Lamed, 530. Remez l'soid Rebbe Lezer's gematria Tav Kuf Lamed. Rebbe Lezer's gematria the Shem Tav Kuf Lamed. V'hainu Rebbe Lezer Oimer. Oimer meaning Rebbe Lezer Oimer. Oimer Daika Shahashem Tav Kuf Lamed Omar v'hika b'Mitzrayim Mem v'alayam Reish. Rebbe Lezer said he's Oimer because that's the Shem. The Shem is Rebbe Lezer Tav Kuf Lamed. Umasha Kasav Umitzad Hashem Aleph Shin Sadi Hey Laku HaMitzrayim B'Mitzrayim Nun V'alayam Reish Nun. That which he says the Shem Aleph Shin Sadi Hey was 50 in Mitzrayim and 250 Alayam. Remez Rabbi Akiva. The Rabbi Akiva is Gematria Aleph Shin Sadi Hey. Meaning Im HaKoilal. Rabbi Akiva with the Koilal is Gematria 396, and without the koilel, it's Gematria the Shem Shin Sadi. Hey, V'hainu Rabbi Akiva Daika, Rabbi Akiva Omar, meaning the name Rabbi Akiva, which is Shin Sadi Hey Shem Azeh Omar v'hika b'Mitzrayim Nun v'alayam Reish Nun. So the Harei Merumazim, the three Shemois, Harei Merumazim Elu Gimel Shemos Shin Pevav Tav Kuf Lamed Aleph Shin Sai Hey, in the names of these three Tanom, Be'elu Gimel Tanom, Rabbi Yossi Aglili is Gematria Shin Pevav, Rabbi Elazar is Gematria Tav Kuf Lamed, Rabbi Akiva is Gematria Aleph Shin Sadi Hey. V'zehu soid nifla v'noira. This is a wondrous and awesome secret. Hainu kasher kosavti lamalas. Kvay Torah. So this is what I wrote to your eminent honor of the Lanu Soidus Neflam. We have wondrous secrets in Iram, awesome secrets. Raz of the Raz and Sisra the Sisra and secrets of secrets. Sisra the Sisra and V'huracha michaper avain. Umasher kasav Rabbeinu Arizal. That which the Arizal writes. B'masha HaKadosh Baruch Hu Makah, with that which God smites, whom boy merapes hagolos, with that He smites the golos. Ma pishay ma chatoy avaysenu, what did our forefathers sin? V'chulu hayna masha kasafti l'chvoid Torah. That's what I wrote to you, namely shener mazim be'elu oisios, that it's alluded to in these oisios of the tzach hadash be'achav soid tetam yeridas avaysenu l'matzayim. The reason why we had to go down to Mitzrayim is merumaz in the words Titzach Adash Biachav K'may Shekasavti Lamalas Kvay Terasai V'hine Ve'elu HaMakkos, and behold with these Makkos Hika Oisam, or another nusach is V'hine Ba'oisan Makkos Tam Yiridas Avesinu L'gos Mitzrayim Shumaka. In those Makkos is the reason we went down to Egypt. V'ripe Oisan HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and God healed us. Shahitzianu Misham, He took us out from there. V'hika B'hem, and He smote them Makkah Rabbah, a great whip, a great smiting. Etzbah Elekim He, Harei min hamaka ba refuah Yisrael. From the Makkah came healing to Klal Yisrael. Shemei oisan Makkos, from those Makkos ba l'refuah came to healing. Shegala HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that Hashem redeemed us. K'may. Now, Yesha Hisifa, there are those who have a nusach here. Umasha Kasav, Uma Pishay, right? Salam, what that means to say is Be'elu HaMakkos, with these Makkos, Nirmaz HaChet Shel Avaysenu, was alluded the sin of our forefathers, Shagaram Yeridas Mitzrayim. V'yesh Lanu Soidus Neflam, we have many secrets of Taritz Kusha, Shehiksha Ma'alosai Elai, that to answer the question you asked on me, Avagam Bezen Nocha Kusha Demaralai, but with this also, we've successfully answered the question, Kasher Kasav De'amala, like I wrote above, Soidus Nefla, Ismi Tairasa, Akadosh V'Torah, wondrous secrets from the holy and pure Torah. And one last thing, Umasha Kozva Arizal, that which Ari writes, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Golai Sanu B'Shemois, Daled Ayin Beis, Tzadi Daled Aleph, Chav Shin Ches Vez, Hasoid Gadol. The secret's very great. What's the secret? What is the shame? It's basically the Tzach Hadash B'Achav scrambled. Instead of Dam Tzvardei Akinim, Arev Dever Shchen, Bar Abra Choshech Makas V'Choyros, we take the first is Daled Ayin Beis for the first Makkah of each set. Dam, Arev, Barad. Tzadi Daled Aleph is the second Makkah of each set. Tzvardei, Dever, Arbe, and Chavshin Chesvez is Kinim, Shchen, Choshech Makas V'Choyros. Ki elu hashemos hasoid hagadol. The secret is great. Elu hashemos hein ladati. These shemos are, in my opinion, siruf, a combination of shel tetzach hadash bi'achav. Kavanasai. The kavana is ki oisios harishonos. The first letter is shel tetzach hadash bi'achav. Hu dalet ayin beis v'oisios shnios. The first letters of each makkah dalet ayin beis, and the oisios shnios is tzadi dalet aleph. The oisios achronis, the last letters is chav shin chaz beis. Harei nermazim elu gimel shemos. So we have an allusion to the three names Shagala Kodesh Baruch Hu, son of him that God redeemed with. Harei ba'oisan hamakkos leMitzrayim. Behold, with those makkos to Mitzrayim, nermazim hagula v'arful Yisrael. It's alluded the redemption and the healing to Klal Yisrael. V'hei rava milifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. May it be pleasing before Hashem. Sheyerenu bias Mashiachenu. They should show us the coming of Mashiach. Im hamalachim hashayachim l'gul achrono. With the angels associated with the final redemption. V'mehera v'yameinu amin salah. Ends Reb Shimshon of Ostropoli with the well-known wondrous promise. After this. After God has revealed to me this secret, anyone who analyzes this great, wondrous secret, this awesome secret, properly, even once a year. So if you're participating in this shir, that we were zoicha to try to study this even once a year, especially Erev Pesach, we brought that there's an opinion that holds this refers to the night of Pesach. Muftach, he's vouchsafed. Shu mutzel kol hashana, that will be saved the whole year. Mikol milchsho misfortune, from any unusual death. V'shemadim blialo yimshabai, no wanton person will rule over him. Ad shekol oivav noiflim tachtav, all his enemies will fall before him. He will trample on them. So the first promise is he won't die, chayim. The second promise is he'll trample his enemies, kavod. And b'chasha yivnei etzach, wherever he'll turn and be successful, hatzlacha. Parnasa v'chol asakav yarviach, all of his businesses will profit. Ad bias hamashiach v'atishbi hamevaser. So, Baruch, that was Shachiyanu v'kimanu v'yanu lasman hazeh, to complete the mimer Sod Etzba Elokim, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu mashpia on all of us and all of Klal Yisrael. Chayim, kavod, shefa, bracha, parnasa, chakasha v'sameach.